駆け抜け青春スパーキング。
Ladies and gentlemen! 皆様、長らくお待たせいたしました。
Oh. She was saying it is literally the next scene. Okay, yeah. So I was right in thinking that the way she was saying it was going to be coming up real quick.
風見市の夏を盛り上げる海祭りが今年もいよいよ始まります。
With that, the beach festival was open.
いつもながら賑やかね。
They've even got a big performance stage this year.
あちらでは海の家で食べ物もいろいろ売ってますね。サーフィン大会に出場するんじゃなければ食べ歩くんだけど、いい匂いがするからお腹が空いてきたわ。サーフィン大会の参加賞で食券がもらえますし、終わるまでの辛抱ですよ。そうね。それに運動して汗をかいてからの方が美味しいだろうし。
You're something else. Not nervous whatsoever. The Kazumi City Amateur Surfing Tournament was going to start soon. We quickly got changed, and we're waiting on standby.
ここまで来て緊張しても仕方ないじゃない。
Actually, what I am curious about is, because here's the thing, right? I thought that the tournament would be the last thing, right? That's why I had that whole thing of like the dad isn't going to like the idea of Nagiko participating in a surfing tournament for, you know, reasons, right? And, you know, we would spend the rest of the route convincing him to let her participate. But that was kind of skipped over, right? So this clearly can't be, this tournament, I mean, clearly can't be for the end, right? I mean, that depends on how the tournament is structured, right? If it's like a multi-day thing with brackets, right? It is a tournament and shit. But yeah, I'm curious how this is going to go, because we still haven't had a H scene, right?
それにアマチュア大会でしょ。私たちと同じ初心者も多そうだし、下手でも悪目立ちはしなさそうだもの。
You do have a point though. Is it like if Nagiko wins this tournament, then she'll be able to go to a different city to participate in a more professional tournament? I don't know. I'm actually jealous of how simple-minded you are. I wasn't so convinced.
カイドウ先輩もあんまり緊張してなさそうですよね。
私？そうね。みんなの前で何かをするのは慣れてるから。さすがにこれだけの規模なのは経験ないけど、それでもまあ似たようなものだしね。
カイドウ先輩は合気道を教える方ですものね。ナギは演舞大会にも出てるしね。多くの人に見られる経験が豊富なんですね。
そんなところ。
Nagiko definitely had guts. I guess I couldn't stay nervous forever either.
でも、ナギが緊張してなさそうで安心したわ。私たちは賑やかしのようなものだけど、ナギは違うもの。目指せ上位入賞！ナギと青春部の名前を街中に轟かせるのよ。
ええ、任せて。ちゃんと入賞はして見せるから
カイドウ先輩？
Nagiko's face suddenly dyed a deep red.
ちょっとナギ、顔が真っ赤よ。急にどうしたのよ。
なんでもないから。
そうそれならいいけど。遠野先輩も顔が赤くなってるような。
Don't tell them, alright? Don't tell them why your faces are red. That's your imagination, Iragi. You're colorblind.
わかりました。先輩がそう言うなら。
I remembered the promise we made on our date the other day. My eyes met Nagiko's, and that was all it took to make us blush.
さあそろそろお待ちかねの時間、風見市主催アマチュアサーフィン大会の開催だ。
来た、いよいよね。
今日は天候にも波にも恵まれ絶好のサーフィン日和。水着の美男美女の織りなす水上のステージ。アマチュア大会なので不慣れな参加者も多いが、そこはご愛嬌。もちろん大会を盛り上げるためにプロサーファーも招待しています。アマチュア選手による熱い戦いとプロサーファーのエキシビジョン、ぜひぜひ観客の皆様も楽しんでください。
プロもいるんですね。
あちらにいるのがそうでしょうか。肌も小麦色ですし、すごく上手そうです。
Oh, hey, senpai. Isn't that the same person who was on the cover of Surf Para? Wow, who'd have guessed that they would show up? I recognize that self-indulgent body. Who would have guessed you would have recognized them from their body? It was that female pro surfer I had seen in videos and the cover of surfing magazines.
ユウのエッチ。今どこを見て判別したの？
You've got the wrong idea.
ふーん。まあいいけど。
I definitely wasn't staring or anything.
で、ユウ、遠野の言ってた通りね。あの人、私が動画見せた人で間違いないと思う。
It was probably because Hibiki and the rest were around. That she referred to me by my surname, then simply you.
何も意地張らないで人前で言うって呼べばいいのにね。まだ初々しいのですね。
そこ、ちゃちゃ入れない。
Listen, it's not because they're in public. Alright, they've done a lot more embarrassing stuff in public. It's just that the difference is, it's because you guys are around. Nagiko's cheeks reddened when Hibiki and Kashima teased her. All the ladies in our club sure were bold. It didn't seem the least bit tense between them. How highly do you have to place to win a prize?
入賞商品は5位まで用意されてるわね。時間の都合で1ヒート10分で1人ずつ。時間切れだけじゃなく、ボードから降りた時点で競技終了のある意味で一発勝負。付け入る隙はあると思うけど、ミスも許されないのよね。
なんて顔してんのよ。ナギなら大丈夫。
そうですね。カイドウ先輩、頑張ってください。
So it isn't bracket based, it's just points based.
私たちも応援してます。
もちろんよ。任せなさい。
おお、頼もしいな。
For sure. There was no need to be anxious about it. It would probably be impossible not to be nervous whatsoever, since this was all new to me, though. My only real option there was to make peace with my nerves. Make peace and relax. I had practiced for this. Now I needed to apply this newfound knowledge to the best of my ability.
まずはプロによる模範演技をご覧いただきましょう。普段は見られない妙技の数々、ぜひとも目に焼き付けてください。風見市主催アマチュアサーフィン大会ザ・エキシビジョン開幕です。
遠野、見やすい場所に移動するわよ。
Sounds good. Nagiko's face lit up. God damn it, I said face again. Nagiko's eyes lit up when she heard a pro would be performing. She immediately sprung into action to try and secure a better viewing spot. I wonder if that pro is going to be the girl that you only remembers the body of.
私たちもナギを追いましょ
う。そうですね。プロの方々の演技なんてめったに見られませんし、楽しみです。
With that, we followed after Nagiko and migrated to a better spot to watch the performance.
すごい。パドリング一つとってもあのスムーズさは何よ。どれだけ練習を積めばあそこまでできるようになるの？
Nagiko murmured to herself excitedly as the pro made their way out into the open water. She's crazy fast. She made it to the open water in no time at all. It didn't come as a surprise that she'd stopped to wait for a good wave, but
動いた。あの波を使うの？
it was the sort of wave amateurs like us would have shied away from, but a pro deliberately charged into it. She performed a takeoff in a fluid motion, then transitioned into riding her board.
なんて安定感。やば、すごすぎ。速度の乗りもいいし。で、そこでバックフリップ？
おいおい、爆中とかマジかよ。
The crowd cheered excitedly. Well, thank God they're not participating in the tournament. All while the other surfers voiced their admiration. The same went for Nagiko. She watched the professional surfer perform tricks in a daze. She's amazing. I wasn't referring to the pro though. My gaze remained fixed on Nagiko. For once. There was no way I could possibly look away, especially not when her eyes were positively sparkling.
以上、プロによるエキシビジョンでした。皆様、難しい技を決めたプロの方たちに盛大な拍手をお願いします。
The exhibition was over in the blink of an eye. Nagiko was practically glowing when she turned toward me.
遠野、見たわよね。映像では散々見てきたけど、生で見ると全然迫力が違うわ。
Yeah, I agree.
私もあんな風になりたい。あんな技を繰り出してみんなを熱くさせたい。
If anyone could do it, it's you. Well, considering that if you want to be as good as her, you can't have to devote even more time to surfing than you already are, and I don't think your dad would appreciate if you devoted even more time to surfing instead of Aikido. So like, that, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this route you've made a compromise, but yeah, you'll have to wait until the end to find out if you can get as good as her. Nagiko ought to be able to stir up the audience in the same fashion. I truly believed that.
さあ、そろそろ私たちの出番が来るわ。とにかく失敗して恥をかいてもいいから事故は起こさないこと。そして自分の今の精一杯を見せるわよ。
先輩がそう言うなら。はい、精一杯頑張ります。
All of the participants were starting to head out into the water.
私たちの中で一番手は
私よ。
よし、頑張りなさい、響。私たちの青春をこの一瞬で見せつけるのよ。
Yeah.
豪快に技を決めるっすよ。
I'll try my best. I heard their encouraging cries among the audience's cheers. However, that was the one cheer I didn't have the confidence to live up to. You unruly horse. It's fine if a good wave happens to come in, but whoa, there's no point if I can't ride the wave. What? Man, this guy's.
おっと惜しい。遠野選手ワイプアウト。残念ながら海に落ちてしまいました。
Man, this guy sucks.
念のため救護班が回収に向かいますので慌てずお待ちください。
A wipeout, falling overboard. Unlike when you pulled back intentionally, it had a much higher probability of accidents occurring. Especially considering this was an amateur tournament and the hosts were coming to collect me. I don't need to do 3. I couldn't pull it off. This was the extent of my ability at this time. Yeah. All I could do was relax and float among the water surface. Surely someone would come get me if I waited.
お疲れ、ゆう。お疲れ様でした。
It went about the way I'd expected.
仕方ないだろ。俺たちは素人なんだから。
でも、当の先輩は私たちの中では一番長く乗れてました。
Everyone from the youth collective came to welcome me as I got out of the water. It may have been the longest, but not long enough to brag about.
でも、私は立てもしませんでしたから。私は、波に押されて沖に出られませんでした。
俺は立って数秒で落ちたな。
どうせ私は海に入る直前で足をつったわよ。直前でドクターストップをかけられて悪かったわね。
You don't have to worry about that.
そうですよ、小日向さん。大きな事故につながらなくてよかったです。まあ、それはそうなんだけどさ。言い出しっぺの私が一番最低の結果って。
The most important thing is, isn't it almost Senpai's turn? My turn had been later on among the general entrance. Later on among the general entrance. I guess I thought attendance would be a better word. Nagiko's turn was even later than mine.
噂をすればってやつだな。
カイドウ先輩が出てきました。
We all looked toward the water.
さあ次のエントリーは風見学園3年海道凪子選手だ。
The cheers grew louder the second her name was called out. Those cheers came from...
もしかして道場の門下生が見てる？
Well, that's interesting. This is a city festival, so it wouldn't shock me if they were here. If they were here, they might be here to cheer her on, since she is the heir to a popular dojo. Nagiko sat into the ocean, with those cheers of encouragement giving her a push on the back. Well, I can't really use the CG as the thumbnail since I've already used it, but I'm not complaining. I paddled out into the open water and caught a well-timed wave. Then I immediately pulled myself upright.
よし、まずはテイクオフに成功ね。
I mean, like, if there was a variation that would easily distinguish between the two thumbnails, I wouldn't mind either.
いい波。これは幸先いいかも。
It wasn't a hollow wave. One with a hollowed-out slope. If I had to say, it was a gentle wave with a heavy slope. Still, a fun board with relatively high buoyancy worked perfectly here.
そういえば、さっき稽古で聞き慣れた声援が聞こえた気がするけど、多分気のせいよね。道場のみんなにはこの大会のことは言ってないし。
That's interesting. So, if all the pupils are here, is her dad also here? I went from ups and downs to a cutback. I gradually gained speed, sharply turning my board, then accelerated even faster.
よし、まずは成功。頑張れ、カイドウ先輩。ファイト一発すよ。と、もう。
Don't distract her, she'll fall off.
リッツもヒジリもあんなに声を上げて。
It was kind of embarrassing. But their support... But their support made me happy all the same. This was an atmosphere that made me tense, in a different sense from that of an Aikido demonstration. Well, an Aikido demonstration is definitely less flashy than this.
ここ!
I picked up momentum into a straight air. I nailed a trick that was comprised of a simple jump, then somehow landed on the water.
おー! すごいわよ、ナギ! 素敵です、カイドウ先輩!
I could hear Hibiki and Kashima loud and clear. Hibiki had been sulking until a few moments ago. It sounded like she had recognized her footing. She had regained her footing. Their cheers were giving me strength.
ここまではまずまずだけど、アマチュアでもこれくらいできてる人は数人いたのよね。よっと。
Recognized her footing. I did another cutback and checked the condition of the waves. and off the lip. I wasn't entirely confident I could pull that off. It would be great if I could pull off something flashy like that, but my lack of experience with boards this size was apparent, especially when I was accustomed to short boards.
でも、もっと技を決めないと入賞は難しいか。入賞するなら、もっと攻めないと。
Based on the condition of the waves, I should only be able to land one more trick.
他の人のミスを期待して、無難に終わらせるのも一つの手だけど。
You can do it, Nagiko! A loud voice carried over the waves. Since he had been calling me senpai in public, that was enough to make my heart skip a beat.
Phew.
And then she falls off because she got distracted. Ah, well, I guess your plan didn't work out. That was right. If I placed highly, then you and I. When that thought crossed my mind, my face burned up even hotter.
ここで頑張っちゃうと言うと、あれだよね。なんか、私がエッチな感じに思われちゃいそうだけど。
But I didn't want to lose. I wanted to live up to Yu's expectations to the best of my ability.
そのことは後で考える。一か八か。いっけー！
I went up and down repeatedly after gaining as much speed as possible. Then,
おっと、カイドウ選手飛んだ。エアリバース360だ。高い。これは高いぞ。
I pull all of my effort into landing an aerial. Put all my effort into... Never mind. I was unable to fully maintain my posture. Shortly after I landed, I had a major wipeout. Well...
駆け抜け青春スパーキング
Unfortunately, she did not place highly.
の、なぎ
Unless...
優勝おめでとう
Here's the problem. Was it like an actual win, or is it like she placed in the top 5? Congrats on your win. I'm part of everyone. Never mind.
ありがとうみんなどうの
I'm not part of everyone. Congratulations, senpai. It was the day after the Beach Festival surfing tournament. The youth collective was hosting a wrap-up party.
祝ってくれるのは嬉しいけど5位入賞は逃しちゃったんだけどね
Okay, so I was right that she didn't win because of the wipeout.
でも特別賞をもらったじゃない
That's right, senpai. Since the air reverse at the end was so awesome.
はいあんなに高いなんて驚きました
その直後に落ちてなければ誇れるんだけど
Nagiko ended up wiping out. Even so, the judges gave her high marks for it, even though they were forced to not let her place in the top 5, considering she wiped out at the end. Although she didn't make it into the top 5, she had received a special reward as a result.
惜しかったっすよね
A consolation prize.
あそこで落ちなかったら5位に入ったのにはいつい声援に熱が入っちゃいました
そうなんだ最後の技を決めるとき集中してたから聞こえてなかったんだよねあでもその前だったらバッチリ聞こえてた聖や律の声も響や鹿島の声もそれにトーナの頑張れナギコってやつも
Oh, you heard that? I had done it on reflex. Not to mention I had accidentally shouted Nagiko. Looking back on it, I called you Nagiko in public, huh? I was embarrassed when I realized it after the fact.
私も波に乗りながら顔が熱くなってた
っていうかさ2人はいつまで私たちの前で呼び方を変えてるつもりナギなんてしょっちゅう言うって呼んでから呼び直してるじゃないいい加減割り切っちゃえばいいのに
そうっすねういういしいっすけど少しじれったくも感じるっす
そう言われても
She blushed and quickly glanced over at me. I was pretty sure my cheeks were red too.
そうだいいことを ひらめきました。
お、なんすか赤島先輩。
ちょっと耳を貸してください。カイドウ先輩もこちらへ。
私も？
あ、ユウは聞き耳立てちゃダメだからね。ほら、ナギは早くこっち。
Oh. Hibiki tugged Nagiko over by the hand, and she was encircled by the other ladies. What's going on?
さあな、関わらない方がいいんじゃないか。女子の群れとか。桑原。
You never change. Even so, I was curious what ideas Kashima and Hibiki and Kashima were putting in her head.
カイドウ先輩、声をもっと落として。お兄ちゃんたちに聞こえちゃいますから。
わかった。でもそんな。
I could occasionally catch tidbits of what she was saying. It wasn't enough to pass through what they were talking about, though. I could see that Nagiko's face was red.
ま、こっちはこっちで楽しもうぜ。ほら、親友もジュースを飲めよ。
Oh, thanks. They would probably come talk to us if anything pressing came up. Man, though, calling each other by name in public. Maybe I should be the one to pull the trigger. I needed to drop the "it's embarrassing" remarks too.
今日の活動もこれで終わりね。
お疲れ様っす。
Thanks for being here. All we did was fool around, though.
青春する部なんだから当たり前でしょ。むしろまだ遊び足りないくらいよ。そうですね。いっそのことお泊まり会をしてもいいかもしれません。それよ、やるわよ、お泊まり会。
Listen, Hibiki. She certainly was capricious. I respected her ability to act on impulse, but
では皆さん私のお家に来ませんか？急な来客でも問題ありません。
oh, wait, Kashima. Are you being serious?
もちろんです。遠野くんもいらっしゃいますか？
I obviously can't. I was naturally reluctant to stay over at a girl's house.
俺も遠慮するよ。正直ゾッとするからな。
まあ男子はそうでしょうね。しおりやりつ、ひじりさんたちはどうする？私は参加する。では私も参加することにします。
参加したいのは山々なんすけど、自分は今日は遠慮しておくっす。
わかりました。それでカイドウ先輩は？
私はその。
What are they scheming here?
合気道の稽古があるし、やめておこうかなって思うんだけど。
そう。残念だけど仕方ないわね。
Uh-huh.
ええ、残念だけどね。
Hibiki and Nagiko's brief exchange seems strange.
お兄ちゃん。
Yeah? What is it, Ritsu?
そういうことだから。
Yeah.
私は鹿島先輩のところにお泊まりするね。
Yeah, which means that you will be all alone. Which means that when he invites Nagiko over, he won't have to worry about anything. Got it. Have lots of fun.
お兄ちゃんこそ。
Me too?
行ってきまーす。
Yeah, me too, huh?
ゆう、ひじりさん。悪いけど戸締まりは頼むわね。
また明日っす。
Everyone taking part in the slumber party took off together.
じゃ、俺ももう帰るな。
Sure. See you later, Shinji. I parted ways with Shinji as well.
遠野先輩とカイドウ先輩も先にいいっすよ。戸締まりは自分がやっておくので。
そうじゃあ遠慮なく行きましょう。ゆう。
Yeah. What's going on? It felt like the stage had been set for me, and it left me feeling incredibly uneasy. In spite of those anxieties, Nagiko and I made our way off campus.
お待たせ、ユウ。
Nah, I only just got here myself. You sure though? I thought you had Aikido practice. We met up at the station after getting changed into our street clothes. We decided to go out on a date.
そっちはデート後でもやれるから。ほら、鹿島の家に泊まると、今晩も明朝も稽古する時間が取れないでしょ？
Oh, is that right?
そうなの？ほら、ユウ。
Whoa. She grappled onto my arm.
ここで問答してても仕方ないでしょ？どこか別のところに行きましょう。それに、少しでもユウとの二人きりの時間を無駄にしたくないし。
Nagiko. She was right. There was no need to sweat the small stuff. Got it. Where did you want to go?
ユウの部屋がいい。
What?
今日、リツはいないんでしょ？だから確実に二人きりになれるし。
Yeah. Ritz is staying over at Kashima's. Ah. I finally recognized what felt so out of place. Had this all been set up? Nagiko. Is that what all you girls talked about back at the club room? Her face grew hot right before my very eyes. Looks like I'd hit the nail around the head. Why are they sticking their noses into our business? Sure, we don't refer to each other by our first names in public. I'd imagine they're getting impatient about our relationship.
その、みんなにいろいろ言われて、私ももう少し積極的に行かないとって思って。
Considering how she was acting, they really must have put a lot of ideas in her head.
それに、あの約束、サーフィン大会で入賞したらって。
Ah.
特別賞だったけど、それでも入賞は入賞だから。
She did indeed. A consolation prize is still a prize, I guess. She gripped onto my arm a little tighter. It made the sensation feel strangely graphic to me. This probably isn't the sort of discussion we should be having here. Would you like to come back to my place? She nodded her head gently up and down. I could feel the harsh rapping of Nagiko's heartbeat against my arm. Thank God there was 2 P's. My own heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest, which made it all the more difficult to breathe. Come in.
お邪魔します。
The sun was starting to set, and I was all alone with Nagiko in a big empty house. ...
早速する？
No, hold up a second. I do want to, though. But jumping right into it, the second we get into my room is kind of...
ごめん！私初めてだから、どのタイミングがいいのかわからないし。
I mean, yeah. It's not like I have any experience with this either. Again. What did people do in these moments? By the way, what did Hibiki and the other girl say to you?
人前で名前呼びできないのはまだ距離があるからだって。だからもっと距離を詰めればいいって。そのためにエッチをするのが一番だって力説された。
Whoa. They talked about that in the club room? Was that why they decided to have a slumber party? It was to give us some time alone?
うん。 いつも家にいる律が開白する理由になるし。
Those girls. No, that wasn't how I should react. Was this our fault for using surnames while we were out in public? They were likely concerned for the evident lack of intimacy.
私としては約束もあったし。
Wait. For the evident lack of intimacy? Concerned by the evident lack of intimacy. Yeah.
覚悟はできてるから。
Nagiko. I wouldn't be much of a man if I were to chicken out now, especially when they had set all this up for me. Sorry, Nagiko. To be honest, I'm the one who should have invited you over first. I closed the gap between us and gently pulled her toward me.
You.
Nagiko, I love you.
私も好き。You.
With Nagiko nestled in my arms, I softly brushed my lips against hers.
You. もっと You が欲しいの。
My heart spasmed at the hungry look in her eyes when she looked up at me. Okay, you gotta stop.
キスすごいね。唇をくっつけてるだけで頭とろけちゃって。
You gotta stop faking me out with these whiteouts, alright? Usually you use them to transition into the hate scene. You've faded into white 2 times already, and it hasn't switched to the CG.
もっと求められたいって、You と一つになりたいって、そんなこと思っちゃってる。
Nagiko's face was completely flushed, and her entire body was practically on fire. And I felt exactly the same. I want you too, Nagiko.
しちゃうのよね。私たち。どうなっちゃうんだろう。不安だけど、私はずっとYouとしたいと思ってたから。だから、いいよ。来て、You。
Yeah. Our lips came into contact once more, and our bodies became entangled on top of the mattress.
駆け抜け青春スパーキング。
Cute.
よっと。
It was cute. All right, at least not too long. A little on the long side, but I can accept it. It's much better than an hour-long hate scene, alright? And the best part, if I didn't have the recording time, it wouldn't have felt as long, alright? And that's the other main thing. Feeling. Like Uncle Roger always says, but that's to do with food. This is to do with the hate scenes, alright? If the hate scene feels long, you fucked up. Nagiko rolled the dice and moved to her game piece the equivalent number of spaces.
You、チャンスのマスに止まったからカード取ってもらえる？
You got it. Here, Nagiko. I drew a card and passed it over to Nagiko as instructed. Listen, all I'm saying is, now that they're saying each other's first names, like, here's the thing. I understand the whole reason the girls wanted them to have sex is so that they wouldn't feel as embarrassed about calling each other by their first names. But shouldn't they feel even more embarrassed now that there's that association, right? Like, in the back of their minds, surely they're like, every time we say each other's first names, they're gonna be thinking about how we've had sex, right? You know, surely.
うん、ありがとう。
Oh, when I handed her the card, our fingers naturally collided. It was a simple feather-light touch, yet a bittersweet tingle welled up inside of me.
昨日までよりも明らかに距離が近いっすよね。
Yeah, I wonder why.
お互いに意識しまくりっすし。指ちょんだけであれっすよ。マイ姉が大人の階段を登っちゃったよ。
Listen, like, Ritsu, I don't know what you're complaining about. You participated in the plan yesterday, okay? You made sure that you was the only person in the house, alright? So that it would be easier for Nagiko to come over and them to fuck.
大人の階段？
ちょっと何言ってんの？
Why are they surprised about this? Wasn't this the whole plan? Wasn't this their plan the whole time? You know, we can hear you, right?
聞こえるように言ってるんだから当然じゃない。
Yeah, especially when you say adulthood at the same time, it's a little loud.
まったくもう、世話の焼けるいとこを持つと大変だわ。
そうそう。世話の焼ける兄もいてごめんね。
I was ashamed.
まあ、別にいいけどね。こっちはこっちで楽しかったし。
鹿島先輩のお部屋、すっごく可愛かったです。
Oh, don't worry. I know. And let me tell you, he's done some wild stuff in her room. In fact, out of the 3 H scenes in the round, 2 of them were on her bed.
ありがとうございます。急に決まった話なので、お掃除が行き届いてなかったのですが、でも皆さんに楽しんでもらえてよかったです。
They'd apparently all had a great time at the sleepover at Kashima's place. Oddly enough, that had taken a bit of a load off my mind.
できればまたこのような機会があればいいんですけど。
Are you saying that they had such a good time at Riri's place at the slumber party that they forgot that they forgot the whole reason they had the slumber party in the first place?
じゃあ次は私の家でお泊まり会しましょう。
賛成！
小日向先輩がそう言うなら、私も賛成です。
その時は私も気合を入れて参加します。
They started making plans for a future sleepover.
まあ、お泊まり会もいいけど、今は先輩たちのことっすよ。
Why? The things that you and Nagiko did in private are private, alright? We aren't doing another fucking Hibiki thing where she sits everyone down and is like, well, here's exactly what happened yesterday, alright? So basically, his dick was rock hard. Anyway.
はい、お二人の仲が無事に進展したようでよかったです。
そうよね。見ていてすっごくじれったかったし、
カイドウ先輩の背中を押した甲斐があったっす。
なんかすごい恥ずかしいけど、ありがとうね、みんな。おかげでユウともっと深いところで分かり合えた気がするわ。
Nagiko bashfully touched my elbow with her hand. And then she leaned in against me. Nagiko.
ユウ。
Listen, all I'm saying is, if they're complaining about the PDA, It's their fault, alright? This was their plan. Our fingers naturally threaded together, and we gazed levelly into each other's eyes.
はい、ストップ。イチャイチャするのはいいけど、妹の私に見せつけないで。
Like I said, this is your fault, alright? This never would have happened if you never planned that slumber party, alright? If you never planned that sleepover, they wouldn't have had sex, and you wouldn't have to see them get all touchy-feely with each other. Yeah, sorry.
まったくもう。
Although, here's what I'm curious about. Because here's the thing, right? Out of the four, you get a feeling as to who you is more affectionate towards. And at this very moment, the current winner is Nagiko, right? Because compared to how you was acting towards the girl after the first hate scene, Hibiki was definitely at the bottom. Alright? And that's all because of Hibiki. Alright? There's nothing to do with you. Because it's because Hibiki made it's because Hibiki had to publicize the fact that they had sex. And also because that was the earliest hate scene that they had. Second last would probably be Shiori, but that's because of her personality. Alright, and then it'd be Riri, and then it'd be Nagiko. Alright, Riri was definitely up there.
今日のお兄ちゃんとカイドウ先輩は見てるだけで胸焼けしちゃうよ。
But once again, right, because of Riri's personality, PDA is definitely a lot. PDA is more off the table than with Nagiko.
ああ、その気持ちすごいわかる。正直に言ってごちそうさまって感じよね。見てるとこちらまで恥ずかしくなってきそうです。バカップル。そう、それ。身内がバカップル化するとこんなに胸焼けするのね。
Wait. Isn't that a little harsh? There was no way we were that bad, right?
え、当の先輩は本気で言ってるんすか？イチャついてる自覚がないわけじゃないっすよね。
What do you mean?
だってねえ。
お兄ちゃん、それはさすがにちょっと。あれだけ熱々なところを見せつけられましたから、それはないと思います。
We were that blatant? But...
言い訳は無用っす。ちょっと指が触れただけで見つめ合ったり、通じ合ってるっぽい感じで笑い合ったり、完全にバカップルじゃないっすか。
I was at a loss for words. It wasn't like I was trying to show off, but it was possible I had gotten swept up in the moment and had forgotten where I was.
ごめん。
But, like I said, why are you guys complaining? This is your fault.
いえ、謝られるとこっちが惨めになるっすから。
そうね。独り身にはちょっと目に毒だわ。
It was that overbearing. Listen, the only girls who get to complain about being single is Kika and Ritsu. All right. Yeah, the other girls, they got first, second, and third dibs on you. Okay. And that's really how you feel. How you all feel. I didn't really understand it personally. We had transitioned to calling each other by our first names, even in public. However, it appeared we needed to exercise some semblance of self-control. That seemed like getting our priorities backwards in its own right, if you ask me, though. Because here's the thing, right? Regardless of Riri and Shiori's personalities, it wasn't this bad. And look, I understand PDA isn't a definitive sign of affection, right? Of how much you loves the girl. It's more so what they do in private. But like, you know, they're laying it on a bit thick.
ユウ、ポテチ食べる？
Oh, yeah, if you don't mind.
わかった。じゃあ。
Especially because, right, it's the fact that Riri wasn't as embarrassed about calling you by his first name in front of others. She didn't need to have sex with him before calling him by his first name in front of others. Unless I'm wrong about that. But they didn't have an entire scheme. They at least didn't have an entire scheme in Riri's route to get Riri to start calling you by his first name.
はい。あーして。
Delicious.
そうよかった。じゃあもう一つ。
Now it would be funnier if they're doing this on purpose, right? Because of the scheme to get Nagiko and you to have sex so that they could call each other by their first names. Now they're getting back at the girls by being so openly affectionate in front of them, right?
ってまたナチュラルにイチャついてるっす。
うわー、これは予想してたのを振り切っちゃってるわね。あのナギがこんな風になっちゃうなんて。
お兄ちゃんのあんな様子も初めて見たよ。
True. We haven't seen this is a side of you haven't we don't get to see in the other girls' rounds.
恋をすると男性も女性も変わるということでしょうか。ねえ、ユウ。私たちってそんなにイチャイチャしてる？
I don't think we're being that overt about it. We weren't kissing in front of them or anything. Right, because kissing is the definitive sign that they're being affectionate toward each other. Nor was she letting me use her lap as a pillow. Or she wasn't using your lap as a pillow either.
先輩、さっきからずっと手をつなぎっぱなしです。
I panicked and let go of her hand. I hadn't noticed whatsoever. Wait, when had I started holding her hand? A while ago.
めちゃくちゃ恥ずかしい。
ああ、もう。ほんと、女って男で変わるのね。あんなにウブで奥手だったナギが、人目をはばからずにイチャつくようになるんだから。
響き、言わないで。
I mean, that was kind of the same with Riri. Right? Nagiko squirmed in her seat, her face flushed a dark shade of red.
まあバカップルのことは横に置いといて。
I am curious what it's going to be like with Kika though. Because with Ritsu, it's going to be like they're going to keep it a secret thing until the end. Right? Unless they do a Shiori thing where they say they have to keep it a secret from the rest. But, you know, but then Ritsu subconsciously gets closer to you in a way that's... Because here's the thing. If Ritsu does the Shiori thing of subconsciously getting closer to you, then would that be perceived as a, you know, they've stepped up in their relationship, or is it like she's a lovey-dovey sister type thing? I don't know. Because this is one of those unique situations where Yu has never been teased as a brocon, right? With like Amane and with Sora. Both of their personalities were similar, right? And they constantly call Riku and why am I blanking on his name? They keep referring to their brother as a syscon, right? Because they're projecting, and in actuality they're brocons, right? But here, it's not the case, right? You know, Yu is caring for his sister, but he's never been called a syscon. Not as much, at least. I don't remember if he's been called a syscon or not, ever.
横に置くのですか？
そうっす。相手にしてると心に傷を負いそうっすし。
Isn't that a little extreme?
まあまあ、当の先輩落ち着くっす。それでなんすけど、そろそろ別のことでもしないっすか？
別のこと？
Aren't we in the middle of a board game? We had gotten so engrossed in conversation that it had been put on hold. Well, listen, all I'm saying is it's probably a good idea not to get too late into a Monopoly game. We had been playing a real estate-based game where you tried to drive your opponents to bankruptcy. You could collect money from your opponents when they landed on a property space that you'd purchased.
これ、もう勝負ついたも同然じゃないっすか。先輩たちのこのエリアのホテル通り、泊まった時点で全員破産っすよ。
確かに、ナギとユーペアのホテル通りはやばいわね。
Ah, they're working together, but as separate players.
ちなみに、さっきのチャンスカードは何だったの
？5のマスへ進むね。
私としおりちゃんの住宅街を飛び越えて行っちゃうの？お兄ちゃんたちからの収入を期待してたのに。私たちは次のターンで破産しそうです。
これから遠野くんとカイドウ先輩のホテル街に差し掛かるんですね。
Or they are working together. Is it like Let me think. Because, okay, it's Ritsu and Shiori working together, and Nagiko and Yu working together. Then, who are Riri, Hibiki, and Kika working with? Right, because Kika is working with one of them, right? Or is it Riri and Hibiki? I don't know.
サイコロ次第ですけど、5割の確率で破産ですか。
As an aside, Kashima was the banker. Oh, she's not playing. So it's Nagiko and Yu, Shiori and Ritsu, and Hibiki and Kika. Oh, well. No, she's... Never mind. And both Hibiki and Hijiri had already gone bankrupt. Okay, well, they're already out of the game, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, the game is practically over already.
連続して修繕費のカードを引いたらわからないけど、その前にリツとヒイラギペアも破産しちゃいそうね。
ということで、別の何かを提案するっす。せっかくなので、外で体を動かすのはどうっすかね？
そうね。いい天気だし、室内でゲームばっかりじゃもったいないか。
それでは、あれはどうですか？この前カイドウ先輩が見せてくれたサーフスケートでしたっけ？せっかくサーフィンの大会に出たわけですし、もう少し上手になるように練習したいです。
それもいいわね。よし、全員で外へ行くわよ。
Everyone other than Nagiko and I answered on Hibiki's command. Well, you know, I also wouldn't answer considering how... I also wouldn't answer if I was dominating in Monopoly, alright? She sure was as energetic as ever. Why don't we go with them?
そうね。
The others got ready and made their way outside. Nagiko and I joined hands and followed their lead outside. Outdoors.
これ
れ難しいです。
And once
怖がっ
again,
て足元見てると余計にバランス崩すから。
you know, if Shinji was also here, it would be less confusing as to who Riri would be playing with. Alright, if it truly is
難しいと
team-based,
思うけれど、視線上げて。
if the Monopoly game truly was team-based, but like always, Shinji is never fucking here, alright? He was here once when Nagiko and you announced that they were together, and again when the girls hatched up a plan to get Nagiko and you to fuck. Any other time was non-existent. Right? Sure, he was around when they were practicing to surf, but like, yeah.
わかってますけど。
Kashima was about to wipe out, but I managed to catch her in time.
ありがとうございます、遠野くん。
Surely Nagiko won't be jealous, right? You're welcome. Try to be more careful, okay? You don't have any protective gear on.
そうよ、鹿島。転んだら怪我をしちゃうんだから。あざくらいならいいけど、ベロって膝をすりむくわよ。
そうですね。気をつけます。
それと、ユウもいつまでも鹿島にくっついてないで離れる。
She's still jealous. She still gets jealous. What? Hey, I get it already. Don't tug so hard. She hugged my arm and pulled me firmly. Then she pulled me away from Kashima.
もう、またナギが嫉妬してる。
別にそういうわけじゃ。
I just think Nagiko's personality is perfect for being both embarrassed about the PDA and very much leaning into it. What do I mean by that? Because Riri and Shiori are both very introverted, right? Where it's like with Shiori, she's like subconsciously being affectionate towards you, but they don't actively show their affection to one another outside of being in private. Riri would be too embarrassed. Hibiki is too extroverted. Right? She's on the opposite end of the spectrum, where sure, she's dating you, but when she's at the club, she's focused more on the club instead of being with you, right? I mean, like the whole fact that she thought up she thought of doing an entire fucking festival is a perfect example of that. So out of the four main girls, right? I don't know what Kika and Ritsu would be like, but out of the four main girls, Nagiko's in that perfect middle spot where she's not too introverted, where she wouldn't do PDA, but she isn't too extroverted, where she would be more focused on the club, or I guess Aikido for her in her example.
本
Slash
当に
surfing.
ない誓ってそう言える？
Nagiko was left speechless and looked away.
カイドウ先輩はわかりやすいですね。
目は口ほどに物を言うってやつですね。
そんなことより、次は誰がサーフスケートに乗るの？
Nagiko blushed brightly and dodged the topic. The others smiled at Nagiko's blatant embarrassment.
ちょっといいっすか、遠野先輩。
What is it?
これ、ちょっと見てほしいんす。
Sure. Hijiri turned her phone screen toward me. A video, I assume? Wait, is this Nagiko?
そうみたいっす。一つは自分が上げた動画っすけど。
I thought you deleted it.
もちろん消したっすよ。でもいつの間にか誰かにコピーされてたみたいっすね。まあこちらは申請して削除してもらうっす。問題は他の2つの動画なんすよね。
What do you mean, other two? It finally dawned on me. One video was from my date with Nagiko, when she rode on the skateboard in front of the other kids in the park. Okay, well, then it definitely wasn't Kiko then. It was a fucking weirdo who had a recorder who took a video of Nagiko instead of the kids who were already there in the skateboard. So it isn't a PDF file, but what? I'm very confused about why they were there. The second video was from the surfing tournament the other day. That one makes more sense considering that was a public tournament thing.
一つは自分は心当たりない動画っすけど、こっちの大会のはスポンサー動画なんすよ。
Oh, I see. Come to think of it, there were videos put out about the high-ranking prize winners. I believe one of the main points of the tournament was to encourage community engagement. If that's all it was, then it wasn't really an issue. It's really racking up a lot of views.
コメントもすごいっすよ。謎のスーパー女子学生現る。この動画に出てるのって同一人物だよね。すげえ可愛いじゃん。などなど。
Now, I can understand if Nagiko's dad is not very approving of the fact that these two videos are viral, right? One of her surfing and one of her skating, right? Considering that she is the heir to an Aikido dojo. I didn't say that right, but you get what I mean, right? If she's more known for surfing and skating, then that would look bad on the Aikido dojo, right? I don't know. Listen, I don't know Nagiko's dad's personality. It's like we've only seen snippets, and he's definitely a lot smarter than he's definitely a lot smarter when it comes to Nagiko's emotions. I don't know what I'm saying, but you know, he was the one who picked up on the fact that Nagiko was definitely into you. Whoa. It's true that she's an incredibly beautiful surfer. It only made sense that she would go viral.
これどうしたらいいっすかね。
There's not much we can really do other than keep an eye on things and see how it plays out. I don't want to worry Nagiko, but it'll be too late if we wait until something happens. So let's look for a good opportunity to talk to her about it.
お願いするっす。自分は勝手に使われてる動画を通報しとくんで。
Yeah, please do. Videos, huh? How is this going to pan out? It was nice to see Nagiko getting the recognition she deserved, but it left me with mixed feelings.